Chosen one, listen carefully. This message is not meant for everyone who happens to hear it. It is not designed to entertain, to impress, or to comfort those who are content staying where they are. This message is for those who have felt the quiet pressure of transformation, for those who have walked a narrow path without applause, and for those whose spirit has known long before their mind could explain it that something was shifting. If you are here right now, it is not by chance. You did not arrive early. You did not arrive late. You arrived exactly on time. There are moments in life when God speaks loudly, and there are moments when He speaks through alignment. This is one of those moments. Something within you recognized this message before you consciously decided to stay. That recognition is not emotional curiosity, it is spiritual confirmation. You have been sensing that certain things in your life no longer fit the way they used to. Connections feel strained. Progress has felt delayed in ways you could not logically explain. And yet deep down you knew it was not because you were failing. It was because something was being rearranged. Today, God is revealing what you have felt but could not fully name. He is removing every person who blocked you, not as punishment, not as rejection, but as protection. Every delay that confused you, every resistance that drained you, every obstacle that appeared in human form is being taken out of your path. This is not coincidence. This is divine intervention unfolding quietly, precisely, and intentionally. Many chosen ones struggle during this phase because removal rarely comes with explanations. It comes with silence. It comes with distance. It comes with unanswered questions and sudden shifts that leave the mind searching for clarity. You may have wondered why things slowed down when you were doing everything right. You prayed. You stayed patient. You tried to remain obedient and kind, and still doors would not open. Still misunderstandings followed you. Still you felt like you were pushing forward while something invisible pulled you back. Let me tell you this with clarity and authority. The resistance you faced was not a sign that you were off track. It was evidence that you were exactly where you were supposed to be. When God places weight on an assignment, pressure always follows. Not because you are weak, but because what you carry matters. Opposition does not appear where nothing is at stake. It appears where growth, calling, and elevation are near. What made this season especially difficult is that the battle did not look obvious. There were no clear enemies, no dramatic confrontations. Instead, the war came through emotional exhaustion, subtle discouragement, confusion, and delay. You felt drained around certain people and could not explain why. You left conversations feeling heavy instead of uplifted. Plans kept falling apart at the last moment. Opportunities slipped through your hands even when you were prepared. That was not random. That was resistance working quietly behind familiar faces and familiar situations. And here is the truth that will begin to bring peace to your spirit. Not everyone who blocked you did it intentionally. Some people block you simply because they cannot go where God is taking you. Your growth exposes their comfort. Your obedience challenges their avoidance. Your discipline reflects what they are not ready to face. Without saying a word, your life became a mirror. and mirrors make people uncomfortable. So God stepped in, not loudly, not forcefully, but effectively. He began removing what you could not remove yourself. He began creating distance where attachment would have cost you your future. And as this message unfolds, you will begin to understand that what felt like loss was actually relief. What felt like delay was protection. And what felt like isolation was preparation. Stay with me. What you are about to understand will change how you see your past, your present, and the season God is leading you into now. Chosen one, before you judge yourself for how tired you became, you need to understand what you were truly facing. What you went through was not random hardship, emotional weakness, or spiritual failure. You were standing in the middle of a hidden war, not one that could be seen with physical eyes, but one that your spirit felt every single day. And the most exhausting battles are always the ones you cannot clearly identify. There were seasons when you did everything right. You stayed faithful when it would have been easier to walk away. You prayed when answers were slow. You remained patient. You chose humility over ego, obedience over impulse, and restraint over reaction. Yet despite all of this, things stalled. Progress slowed. Doors that should have opened remained shut. People misunderstood you without reason, and that confusion slowly crept into your thoughts. This is where many chosen ones begin to doubt themselves. You replayed conversations in your mind. You analyzed your actions, your words, your intentions. You wondered if you had made a mistake, said the wrong thing, or missed a sign from God. Sometimes in the quiet, you even questioned God, not out of rebellion, but out of exhaustion. And that questioning did not make you weak. It made you human. Here is the truth you need to hear clearly. The resistance you encountered was not because you were off course. It was because you were exactly on course. Chosen ones attract opposition before elevation, always. Not because they are arrogant, but because their assignment carries weight. When God places something valuable inside a vessel, pressure is inevitable. The greater the calling, the greater the resistance that tries to slow it down. What made this war difficult is that it did not come through obvious enemies. Spiritual warfare rarely announces itself. It does not always look dark or dramatic. More often, it comes disguised as confusion, delay, distraction, emotional fatigue, and subtle discouragement. The goal was not to destroy you outright. The goal was to slow you down, to make you tired enough to question your worth, to make you settle for less than what God promised. You felt this war most strongly in your mind. Overthinking became familiar. You replayed situations that never fully made sense. You tried to find logic where none existed. A tired mind is easier to discourage. A confused heart is easier to mislead. And that is why this season felt heavier than others, even when nothing out. Some of the resistance came through people you trusted, not because they were evil, but because not everyone is equipped to walk with you into higher seasons. Your growth disrupted their comfort. Your obedience highlighted their avoidance. And without intending to, they became obstacles simply by remaining where they were while God was calling you forward. Understand this, chosen one. The war you survived was not meant to break you. It was meant to shape you. It refined your patience, sharpened your discernment, and trained you to listen more than you speak. It taught you when to move and when to remain still. And most importantly, it taught you that God does not need noise to work. He works best in silence. You did not imagine the resistance. You endured it. And the fact that you are still here, still seeking, still listening, is proof that the hidden war did not defeat you. It prepared you. Chosen one of the hardest lessons God teaches those he calls deeply is this: not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. This truth is difficult not because it is unclear, but because it touches attachment. When God begins to remove people, many assume it means failure, rejection, or loss. But God does not remove randomly, and He does not remove cruelly. He removes with precision, wisdom, and foresight that sees far beyond the present moment. God removes people because He sees what you cannot see. He sees the future cost of their presence. He sees how certain connections, even when they appear supportive on the surface, slowly interfere with your calling. Some people do not oppose you openly. Instead, they drain you quietly. After being around them, you feel tired instead of strengthened, heavy instead of uplifted. That is not healthy fellowship. That is imbalance. God never designed you to be an emotional supplier to those who refuse to grow. There are also people God removes because they delay you, not because they are bad or malicious, but because their pace no longer matches your assignment. You tried to slow down for them. You explained yourself. You waited. But your obedience kept pulling you forward while their comfort kept holding them back. Over time, that tension becomes resistance. God removes delay when delay threatens destiny. Another group God removes are those who distract you. These individuals create constant noise opinions, drama, emotional reactions, and unnecessary complications. Slowly, without realizing it, your focus shifts from prayer and discernment to reaction and explanation. God removes distractions before they become derailments. What seems like small interference now can become a major detour later. There are also people God removes because they distort your identity. Around them, you felt smaller. You spoke less. That was not humility. That was suppression. God never called you to shrink so others could feel comfortable. When your presence threatens someone's insecurity, they will try to minimize you. God will not allow that for long. Listen carefully to this, chosen one. Some people are removed not because they are bad, but because they had access they were never meant to keep. Proximity is powerful. Not everyone deserves front row access to your thoughts, your emotions, and your calling. Familiarity without alignment leads to interference. When access becomes dangerous, God intervenes. You may ask why God did not explain this beforehand, why He did not warn you. Why he allowed separation to feel sudden? The answer is simple and freeing. Explanation often leads to negotiation, and God does not negotiate with destiny. If you knew everything in advance, you would try to fix rescue or delay what needed to end. So God acts quietly. He allows distance. He allows people to reveal themselves naturally. And when separation happens, it feels sudden to you, but it was calculated in heaven. Some people were sent to test your obedience, not to join your future. They were lessons, not lifelong companions. Once the lesson is learned, the chapter must close. God did not remove them to hurt you. He removed them to protect what He placed inside you. Chosen one of the reasons this season felt confusing is because God rarely announces removal with noise. He does not always come with confrontation arguments or dramatic endings. More often, He removes quietly, gently, and with peace. That is why many people miss the signs and think nothing is happening, when in reality, everything is already shifting. One of the first signs is distance without effort. You did not argue. You did not confront. You did not force separation. Conversations simply shortened. Messages slowed, then stopped. Invitations. And what is important is this. Instead of panic, you felt relief. That relief was not coldness, it was alignment. When God removes someone, He also removes the emotional pull that once kept you attached. Another clear sign is silence replacing explanation. There was a time when you would have fought for clarity. You would have explained yourself repeatedly. You would have chased understanding. But now something inside you is calm. You no longer feel the need to prove your intentions or defend your character. You let people misunderstand you without correction. That is not weakness. That is spiritual maturity. When God is handling something, He teaches you to stop managing it yourself. You may have noticed that certain people suddenly stopped supporting you. They stopped asking questions. They stopped showing interest. And strangely, instead of feeling rejected, you felt lighter. That lightness is not coincidence. God removes burdens before He removes people. When the weight lifts, the connection dissolves naturally. Another sign is that doors connected to certain people closed without warning. Opportunities tied to them disappeared. Plans never materialized. You tried to revive them, but they refused to move. That was God blocking access. Not because the opportunity was bad, but because the association was misaligned. God will shut down good things if they lead you to the wrong place. You also became emotionally detached without becoming bitter. This distinction matters. Bitterness means the wound is still open. Detachment means the lesson is complete. You no longer replay conversations. You are no longer triggered by their behavior. Their presence or absence no longer controls your mood. That emotional neutrality is a sign God healed something while removing someone. Another powerful sign is sharpened discernment. You started noticing patterns you once ignored. Inconsistency became obvious. Emotional imbalance became clear. Manipulation lost its disguise. And instead of confronting or arguing, you withdrew quietly. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. When God trains a chosen one, He teaches them when silence speaks louder than correction. You may also have experienced misunderstanding without defense. People formed opinions about you that were not true. They questioned your intentions. They misread your silence, and yet you did not feel the urge to explain. That restraint did not come from pride, it came from trust. You trusted God to reveal truth in His time. Another sign many people overlook is the loss of appetite for chaos. Drama exhausts you now. Emotional roller coasters drain you. You crave peace more than excitement. That shift is not accidental. God removes chaos by first removing your tolerance for it. What once entertained you now irritates you. If you recognize these signs, understand this clearly, you are not losing people. You are losing interference. It is already happening. Chosen one after God removes what blocked you. He does not rush you forward. He allows you to rest. This part is important because removal, even when necessary, leaves emotional residue. God is not only concerned with where you are going, He is deeply concerned with how you arrive there. That is why this season may feel quieter than expected. It is not emptiness, it is healing. You may notice a strange mix of emotions rising within you, relief and grief existing at the same time, peace alongside sadness, freedom paired with uncertainty. This does not mean you are confused. It means you are processing something real. Healing is not the absence of feeling. It is the ability to feel without being controlled by what you feel. God allows this emotional complexity because rushing healing would damage what He is restoring. One of the first wounds God begins to heal is abandonment. When people leave, especially without clear explanations, the mind tries to create stories. You replay moments searching for where you went wrong. You ask yourself what you could have done differently. But hear this clearly, chosen one, not every ending is your fault. Some endings are divine decisions, not personal rejections. God removed people without asking your permission because He saw beyond your emotional attachment. Another layer God heals is guilt. Many chosen ones feel guilty for moving on, guilty for feeling better without certain people, guilty for not missing them the way they think they should. That guilt is unnecessary. Healing does not dishonor the past. It honors growth. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to feel lighter. God does not require you to carry emotional weight as proof of love. God also begins healing your nervous system. For a long time, you were on emotional alert, watching moods, managing reactions, anticipating conflict. Now your body is learning that it is safe again. That is why rest feels deeper. That is why silence feels comforting instead of lonely. God is retraining your inner world. Tears may come without warning, not because you are breaking, but because your body is releasing stored emotion. Do not resist it. Tears are release, not weakness. Forgiveness is another essential part of this healing, not for their benefit, but for your freedom. Forgiveness does not mean reconnection. It means releasing emotional debt. God does not want you carrying bitterness into your next season. Bitterness hardens the heart, and your heart must remain soft and discerning. You may also notice healing in how you trust again. Disappointment can make you guarded, cautious, withdrawn. God gently teaches you to trust, not blindly, but wisely. Trust rooted in discernment is strength, not fear. You are learning to sit with yourself without distraction, without noise, without external validation. And you are discovering something powerful. Your own company is peaceful. God is healing your tendency to overgive, over-explain, and overstay. Boundaries are forming naturally now. Not walls, but doors with locks. You choose who enters. You are learning that love without wisdom leads to depletion. And as this healing continues, your inner voice becomes gentler. You stop attacking yourself. You begin encouraging yourself. That is God's voice blending with yours. Chosen one, God always prepares the ground before He reveals the harvest. He never leads you into a new season carrying old weight. That is why removal had to happen first. What God is leading you into now requires space, clarity, and protection. And not everyone who walked with you before could survive the environment of what comes next. Your next season carries greater responsibility, greater visibility, greater spiritual authority. God saw in advance what certain connections would cost you later. Some people would have misused your access. Others would have slowed your obedience. A few would have benefited from what God was building through you without honoring Him. So God removed in advance what would have become a liability. This is a truth every chosen one must eventually accept. You cannot carry everyone into what God promised you. Not because you are better, but because assignments are specific. Destiny requires focus. Obedience requires clarity, and clarity cannot survive constant emotional noise. God knew that if certain people remained, you would be pulled in too many directions, forced to explain yourself, negotiate your obedience, or compromise your discernment. Another reason removal had to happen is because your next season requires speed. When God opens certain doors, hesitation can cost you. Indecision can delay you. God removed what would have caused you to overthink, overconsult, or overexplain. You are being trained to move when God says, move without needing consensus or validation. Your next season also demands privacy, not secrecy, but protection. There are things God is developing in you that cannot be exposed too early. When too many voices have access, revelation becomes diluted. God guards what is precious, and you are more valuable than you realize. That is why familiarity had to be reduced. Not everyone needed to understand what God is doing in you. God also removed people because your faith is being upgraded. In the next season, He wants you to rely less on human reassurance and more on divine instruction. You are learning to obey without applause, to move without explanation, to trust God, even when others do not understand. That level of faith cannot grow in crowded spaces. There is also an emotional maturity requirement tied to where you are going. God cannot elevate a chosen one who still reacts from unhealed wounds. That is why separation became part of healing. You are learning to regulate your emotions, to sit with discomfort, to release without resentment. These are not small lessons. They are qualifications. Timing also matters. God removes blockers before acceleration. If He moved you forward without clearing the path, collision would have caused damage. God is precise. He does not rush destiny, He prepares it. Some people were removed because they only knew the old version of you. Your next season requires freedom from old labels and outdated expectations. Chosen one, the final test after removal is not faith, it is restraint. The temptation to look back, to revisit, to reopen what God already closed can quietly delay what is ahead. God does not ask you to forget the past. Moving forward now requires intentional obedience. You may feel moments of nostalgia, curiosity, or even compassion toward those who are no longer present. These feelings are human, but discernment means you do not allow emotion to override instruction. God closed those doors with clarity, even if the closure felt gentle. Reopening them would reintroduce confusion, distraction, and emotional noise. You are being taught to walk by confirmation, not curiosity. Curiosity asks, what if confirmation asks, did God release this? And if God released it, your responsibility is to honor that release with discipline. Discipline is not restriction, it is protection. God is teaching you to protect your peace the same way you once protected connections. Another key lesson in this season is learning to trust forward momentum. You do not need to know every step. You only need to obey the next one. God rarely reveals the full picture at once, especially to chosen ones. He builds trust through movement. As you walk, clarity increases. As you obey, confidence grows. Standing still out of fear is not safety, it is stagnation. You may notice your circle becoming smaller, but your vision becoming clearer. Fewer voices, less noise, more direction. That is not isolation. That is focus. God often removes distractions before releasing direction. When the room quiets, His voice becomes unmistakable. And now you are finally able to hear Him without interference. Walking forward also means releasing the need for closure from people. God Himself becomes your closure. Not every story ends with understanding or apology. Some end with acceptance. You do not need their validation to move on. Your peace is evidence enough that the season is complete. There is also a call to courage in this stage. Moving forward without looking back means you accept uncertainty without fear. Courage is not loud. It is quiet obedience when no one is watching. You are also learning to redefine strength. Strength is no longer endurance of pain. It is discernment, boundaries, and obedience. You no longer prove loyalty by self-sacrifice. You prove maturity by knowing when to let go. As you walk forward, you may feel a growing sense of anticipation, not anxiety, but expectancy. That is the signal of alignment. Something new is unfolding, something divinely timed. You do not need to rush it. You only need to stay aligned. Chosen one, the past cannot follow you where God is taking you, and the fact that you are still standing, still obedient, and still at peace means you are ready for what comes next. Chosen one, as you arrive at this moment of reflection, understand this truth deeply. Nothing you experienced was random, wasted, or unnecessary. What felt like loss was divine protection. What felt like separation. God did not remove people to punish you. He removed them to preserve you. And now, standing where you are not behind. You are exactly on time. There was a version of you that survived by enduring. That version learned how to tolerate, how to stay quiet, how to carry emotional weight that was never meant to be permanent. That version served a purpose, but it could not carry you into what God is unfolding now. Growth always requires shedding. Elevation always requires release. And you were brave enough, consciously or not, to allow that process to happen. This season has refined your discernment. You now recognize peace as a signal, not a luxury. You understand that alignment feels calm, not chaotic. You have learned that God's guidance does not compete with confusion, it replaces it. Where there was once emotional noise, there is now clarity. Where there was once pressure to explain, there is now confidence in silence. You are no longer asking God to fix what He already removed. You are no longer begging for clarity where He already gave direction. Instead, you are learning to trust His timing even when it stretches your patience. That trust is not passive. It is active faith, choosing obedience even when the outcome is still forming. God is about to do something new, but He will not announce it with urgency. He will introduce it with peace. You will recognize it not by intensity, but by stability. Not by emotional highs, but by inner assurance. This is how you will know you are aligned. Do not underestimate the power of what you have become in this quiet season. You have learned to stand alone without feeling lonely. You have learned to walk forward without dragging the past behind you. You have learned to listen more closely to. You did not lose access. You gained direction. You did not lose love. You gained discernment. You did not lose people. You gained peace. So walk forward without guilt, without regret, without hesitation. You are not abandoning anything sacred. You are honoring what God already completed. The next season will not require you to be stronger. It will allow you to be freer. Chosen one, trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust the God who closed doors you were too loyal to leave. What comes next will confirm everything you had to release to get here.